Will a magical mirror unlock the secrets of the lost princess? Let's take it back to the very beginning. Deep within the towering trees of the Whispering Woods, a girl named Illa lived with her grandmother. Illa's golden hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her eyes were a deep, ocean blue. She had just turned 18, yet she had never stepped foot outside the enchanted forest. Her life was beautifully simple. Her days were filled with gathering herbs and healing injured animals, while her nights were spent by the fireplace, listening to her grandmother's old tales. But Illa possessed a strange mystical gift. Whenever she was sad, a chill would fill the air, but when she smiled, even the withered flowers would burst into bloom. Whenever she questioned her grandmother about it, Martinda would always brush it off and say, "It's just nature showing its love for you, my child." Yet, deep down, Illa always felt that a huge secret was being kept from her, especially after the day she stumbled upon a scrap of royal velvet and a broken family crest hidden inside her grandmother's old trunk. Staring at that golden royal emblem in the chest that night, Illa was completely bewildered. She thought to herself, "We are just simple poor folk. How on earth did grandmother get her hands on something meant for royalty?" The next morning, Illa confronted her, asking, "Grandma, did we ever have another home? Somewhere outside this forest?" "No, my sweet girl. We have no other home but this." But Illa knew right then that her grandmother was hiding a massive secret. A year slipped by, and during this time, Illa's magical powers grew even stronger. Whenever sadness gripped her, icy winds would literally howl through the trees. The woodland creatures would gather and sit around her, treating her as if she were their queen. Illa would often gaze at the distant mountains, wondering, "Who am I really, and what is my true destiny?"
It was the night of Illa's 19th birthday, when out of nowhere, the sound of thundering hooves surrounded their cottage. They shouted, "Capture King Alaric's daughter." Panic gripped Illa, but her grandmother instantly grabbed her hand and shoved her into a secret passageway hidden behind the wall. With tears streaming down her face, her grandmother slammed the door shut without uttering a single word. Peeking through the cracks, Illa wept as she saw the soldiers set her beloved home ablaze. To save her life, she bolted blindly down into the pitch-black tunnel. As she ran, her heart pounded wildly against her chest, but the soldiers' words kept echoing in her ears. "King Alaric's daughter. Alaric's daughter." A storm of questions erupted in her mind. Why did those soldiers call me a king's daughter? Am I not just an ordinary girl, but actually a princess? And if I really am a princess, who is my father? What on earth is happening to my life?
Emerging from the tunnel, Illa found herself standing at the edge of a rushing river. There, tangled in the bushes, a unique bird with rainbow-colored feathers was writhing in pain. Without a second thought, Illa quickly gathered a nearby herb and applied it to its wound. The moment the medicine touched its skin, the bird healed instantly and transformed into a beautiful fairy amidst a flash of magical light. The fairy smiled warmly and said, "Thank you, Illa. You saved my life." "How do you know my name? Who are you?" Illa asked, completely stunned. The fairy didn't give a straight answer. Instead, she gently lifted Illa's right hand, revealing a strange birthmark shaped like a sun and a swan. "Do not take this mark lightly, Illa. It holds the key to your true identity. But this is a truth you must uncover on your own." Before Illa could utter another word, the fairy pressed a small magical mirror into her hands and said, "Whenever you selflessly help someone in need, this mirror will grant you a glimpse of your past." With those parting words, the fairy vanished into thin air. Illa was left standing there, completely thunderstruck. Her mind raced with a million questions. How did the fairy know her name? And what dark secret did the mark on her hand hold? She carefully tucked the mirror away and pressed onward, driven by sheer curiosity. As Illa made her way through the forest path with the magical mirror, ominous black clouds suddenly swallowed the sky. The entire forest began to violently tremble. Up ahead, a frantic crowd of villagers and panicked woodland creatures came sprinting toward her, fleeing for their lives. Illa stopped a running child and asked, "What happened? Why is everyone running?" The scared child pointed toward the mountain. "The ancient dam of the magical lake has burst, and a huge, dangerous flood is coming our way. The flood is moving toward the innocent village, and everything is about to drown." Illa's heart sank seeing the innocent children and animals in danger. Her desire to save them woke up a strange anger and power inside her.
She closed her eyes and raised both hands toward the sky.
As she shouted, her power to change the weather worked. Terrible icy and cold winds began to blow everywhere. The temperature dropped so fast that the scary flood froze on its way into a huge mountain of ice. The villagers and animals were saved, and everyone took a sigh of relief. But because of using this heavy power, Ella got tired and sat on the ground. Ella was just recovering when a bright light flashed inside her bag. She quickly pulled out the magical mirror. Since she had just selflessly saved thousands of lives without caring about herself, the mirror's magic began. The blurry surface of the mirror cleared up, showing a grand golden palace. The flag of the palace had the exact same sun and swan mark as the one on Illa's hand. Then a blurry image of a crying king and queen appeared, sad for their lost baby girl. Illa's heart beat fast. She looked at the mark on her hand, and then at the palace in the mirror. She understood that the flood had actually led her to the mirror's way toward her real home. She stood up and moved toward the direction of the palace shown in the mirror. She stood up and walked in the direction of the palace shown in the mirror. While heading toward the palace, Ella reached a village where sadness was everywhere. The children lay in bed, very weak, unable to even open their eyes. Ella asked a woman about the reason for this. The woman cried and said,
"A strange sleeping sickness is spreading across the village, and the palace's evil commander is not helping anyone. And our kind king himself is lost in grief for his missing daughter."
Hearing about the sleeping sickness, Ella remembered her childhood. Her heart sank, and she decided to help everyone.
Ella quickly took out the herbs taught by her grandmother from her bag. She went to the sick children one by one and began giving them medicine.
As Ella treated the children, the sun and swan mark on her hand would glow softly. Like magic, within a few hours all the children recovered, sat up, and started playing. Happiness spread across the entire village, and everyone began to give Ella their blessings. After saving so many innocent lives, Ella's magical mirror glowed once again. Ella saw in the mirror that in a palace room, the old king was sitting and crying next to a small, empty bed. On that bed was a picture of a little girl who was always sleeping. Ella could not recognize the king or the child, but her heart began to beat fast. Looking at the mark on her hand and the image in the mirror, Ella understood that her truth was hidden in this very palace. Without any delay, she walked straight toward the palace. As soon as Ella reached the palace, the guards at the main gate noticed the royal sun and swan mark on her hand. They ran very fast to the king, shouting with joy, "Your lost daughter, Princess Ileana, has returned." The king came running outside. Even though Ella could not recognize her father, the king knew his daughter's face the moment he saw her. He hugged Ella while crying and said, "My child Ileana, you are alive." Seeing this, the commander standing in the court began to tremble with fear inside. Just then, Ella's magical mirror suddenly floated in the air, and a bright light came out of it. A clear view of the entire past began to show inside the mirror. Everyone in the court saw how this evil commander had thrown the sick baby princess into the forest long ago, and how on her 19th birthday, he burned Ella's house and locked her grandmother Martinda in the dark palace dungeon. The commander was shocked as his dark secret was revealed. Red with anger, the king immediately ordered, "Arrest this traitor commander and throw him into the darkest dungeon of the kingdom forever." The soldiers instantly locked the commander in chains. As soon as the commander was caught, the king ordered the guards to bring the dungeon keys. The king and Ella went downstairs along with the guards. The guards opened the heavy door, and Ella tearfully freed her beloved grandmother Martinda and hugged her. Back in the court, grandmother told the king how she took care of the baby as the palace doctor, and how a magical fairy had healed Ella and blessed her with these powers. Ella had found all her answers, and her magical mirror now glowed with a peaceful light. The king placed a golden crown upon his brave daughter's head. Princess Ella lived happily ever after in the palace with her father, grandmother, and her magical powers.